Hello everyone, and welcome to a special Gen Con Eventide chat. Hi there, I am the creator of the Eventide campaign setting and a little game called Pathfinder. I am Jason Bulmahn. I'm the president, owner, graphic designer, advertiser, marketer of Eventide. I also spend my daytime working the director of creative design over at Paizo. Today, I'm excited to join all of you in chatting about Wolfren's Fate. Wolfren's Fate is the first adventure set in the world of Eventide, and as we are drawing ever closer to its actual release, I thought taking a moment out of Gen Con, the busy Gen Con schedules, to chat a bit about this adventure and the world of Eventide would be a bit of fun. So I want to thank you all for stopping by to listen to me chat here today. Now, a few months back, during PaizoCon, I did another public chat about Eventide, and you can find that on my YouTube. I'll include that link in the video description for this video down below. But today, instead of focusing on the entire campaign and how that you can help support it through Patreon, I want to kind of focus in a bit and talk more about this first adventure. I have some exciting things to show off about it that I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you. So before I dig too deep into that, I do want to give a brief primer of the world of Eventide, just in case you missed that earlier video or you know, don't have the time to sit through all of it. I want to give you a sense of the world before we kind of dive into what makes Wolfren's Fate such a fun adventure and how excited I am to get it out to all of you. So Eventide has been a passion project of mine for several years now. It's taken a bunch of different forms, from just a pure adventure to then an adventure with a short gazetteer to now a full-fledged campaign setting built specifically for Pathfinder Second Edition. Eventide is a world and a story with kind of a central mystery, a central story that you're there to explore as part of your adventuring. Now, whether or not this is a central focus to your adventure or just a side bit is really kind of up to you GMs. But it is a world wherein there was this gigantic event that happened some almost 1,000 years ago, now 900 and some odd years ago, in the world, in which a storm of darkness set upon the world. And after 3 weeks of being in perpetual gloom and shadow, the darkness slowly faded away. But something about the world from that moment onward was different. Magic is dying. It's in the decline on this world, and it can be traced back to that moment. That was the moment where something pivotal happened. Something changed. And as a result, you know, your player characters are growing up in a world that is fundamentally changing, that is different. And they are exceptional individuals. They may still have access to some of the old magic and how those things work, but the world around them is just moving on. I like to describe Eventide as kind of a slow-moving magical apocalypse. And the world, those who are invested in magic, those who see magic as a positive thing in the world, are lamenting its loss, where a lot of people are just kind of getting on with their lives and moving on. And, you know, do your characters have the will to investigate this, the drive to try and stop it, or maybe even reverse it? That's up for you and your GMs to decide. So Eventide is kind of a large setting with this kind of central mystery, but to keep it from being overwhelming, to keep it from being huge, we do start our story in Eventide is kind of focused in, and that's where the Wolfren's Fate adventure comes in, because Wolfren's Fate is set in one town in the north of a continent called Alnir. The way that this setting was designed was kind of rings of detail. It's kind of a bullseye model to campaign design. In which there's a central bullseye that has a lot of detail poured into it. It's a place where you can play and adventure and experience the story. And then there's a ring outside of that, which is the nearby environs, which have plenty of detail and backstory and lore and hooks to write adventures. Excuse me. And then there is the world beyond, the stuff in the broader wide world, much of which is little more than a paragraph or bits of description to give context to the wider world itself. So you've got the whole world of Eventide, then you have the continent of Alnir, which is ruled over mostly by a gigantic nation called the Zankar Imperium, and then you've got this small band of free states north of the Imperium, And in those, there is a place called the Ice Scar Valley, and in the Ice Scar Valley, there is a small town called Wormbone, located in the middle of the Ruby Road, a long trade route that stretches from one edge of the continent to the other, from Varnathus in the west to Tusktown in the east. And Wormbone, forms the kind of central hub for merchants making their way from one coast to the other without sailing all the way around the continent. So Wormbone is a pivotal little town. It's a frontier town. And it is in this place, outside of Zankar rule, up in the wilds, up in the frigid kind of Northlands, where our first story is set. It's a place filled with opportunities, with change, with mysteries to explore and unravel. And it's kind of a broad place to kind of set our first bits of exploration. It's my goal with Eventide that over time we will move from place to place and explore other locations, other sites where you can have adventures. But that will be explored through a continuing and expanding narrative. I want all of you to experience the world building along with me. That's what makes Eventide really special. There's a couple of things that I think make this campaign rather unique. First of all, it is a world that is built specifically for the Pathfinder Second Edition rules. It takes advantage of that rules engine in ways that empowers its story. So the way magic works in Pathfinder Second Edition, how there are 4 traditions of magic and how those are built into the world, are all tied directly into the planar cosmology of the world and how all of these pieces come together, inform how magic functions, or rather doesn't function in the world, and plays out throughout the stories and the tales that we're going to tell. So it's a world built for Pathfinder Second Edition. Second, it's a campaign building process where you can see the inside of how it's taking place, how it's shaping up. And I'm doing that through Patreon. So for those who are interested in watching campaign building happen live, in some cases, you can join my Patreon. I do videos roughly once or twice a week, specific to my patrons, where they get my insights on the campaign, where they can see me do brainstorming live, where they can watch me create maps. There's a whole mountain of content out there. There's well over 20 hours. I think we're up to about 30 hours of YouTube videos right now archived for members of my Patreon to see the world building process as it happens. Now, a lot of that has been focused on getting a number of things ready, a number of products ready for the wider world, because although I'm using the Patreon to kind of showcase the creation of this world and to get folks to be able to see that and view it and take part in it, the ultimate goal here is to release some adventures and some products in a world gazetteer and things like that. So the focus up to this point has been building a rather massive website filled with all of this world lore. It's basically got its own a wiki on my own website, minotaurgames.com, and all of my patrons have access to that. And that is text from the upcoming player's guide, which includes, new rules and new options for characters, including a brand new class and a brand new ancestry. So in the world of Eventide, you can play a Penumbrist, a full 20 level occult spellcasting class that uses the powers of shadow and darkness to manipulate the battlefield and control their enemies. Same time, you can also play a Gloamling. These are a diminutive race of shadow-touched creatures that kind of prowl around in the darker parts of the world. They're a relatively new ancestry for the world of Eventide. They've only been around for years. But all of this is in response to kind of this central mystery, this central story in Eventide. When magic shifted, when things changed. The past 900 years have seen a lot of changes to the world of Eventide. There are no more druids in the world. They all went away. They lost their powers. Gnomes, likewise, vanished from the world. But for everything that gets taken away, something else gets added. And the world of Eventide is richer. So that's kind of an overview of what I'm trying to do with Eventide as a setting. What I really want to talk about here today, though, is Wolfren's Fate. Now, Wolfren's Fate is specifically designed to be an introductory adventure. It is an adventure that is designed specifically to kind of showcase the world of Eventide, to give players a chance to kind of experience and explore the world itself. And I've got a bunch of exciting art and some sample layouts for it, because this adventure is the first thing I'm going to release. In matter of fact, I was close to possibly releasing the PDF within the next few days, but a few snags and whatnot have held me up a bit. So I'm going to be pushing to release it by hopefully the end of this month. It'll be available as a PDF, and I'm hoping as well as print on demand. All members of my Patreon will either get it either discounted or free, depending on their support level. So the first part of this adventure is almost ready to go. And I say first part because Wolfren's Fate is actually a 4-part adventure. Each part of this adventure is roughly a level's worth of play. Some will be a little less, some will be a little more. But this first part is designed specifically to get your group together, get them all on the same page, and get them exploring this world. And throughout the course of play, they'll probably reach second level. So it's a good, meaty 32-page adventure, I think is what my final page count is going to be. I'm still working on the layout. But it's a 32-page adventure that is filled, rich, deep world lore, lots of fun things to explore, and lots of fun experience. The people on my Patreon have heard all about this. They know all of the details. In fact, they even have playtest drafts of the adventure. But what I'm going to be releasing here in about a month is the final version of the first part of this adventure. So let's dive right in here and take a look. Here is the cover for Wolfren's Fate. You'll excuse me, this is both the front and back cover because I'm laying it out for print on demand. So here it is. There you go. That is the cover to Wolfren's Fate. I am super excited to get this adventure out there. That's not 100% done. That is probably 95% completed. But it on there you can see our the iconic Penumbrist fighting along with a Gloamling against a rather large, angry-looking ooze that is a scene from somewhere in this adventure. I'm going to be careful here today, by the way, not to spoil any parts of the adventure itself. I'll talk a bit about the setup, but it's nothing that you don't learn within the first 5 minutes of playing. So I'm going to do my best here not to spoil the adventure. But I will give a bit of backstory about it and the setup for it and get you all started. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with how this cover turned out. My artist here is Llamzon. Frost is a brilliant artist out of the Philippines. She does some great work, and she did, I believe, all of the art, or all of the color art that you will be seeing inside this adventure. Because it's not all going to be color art. That stuff's pretty expensive, but I do have a fair number of color pieces that I'm going to be showcasing some of here today. So, yeah, let's talk a bit about Wolfren's Fate. So, Wolfren's Fate is ultimately going to be a rather large adventure that's going to take characters from first level probably up to third. Somewhere in third, probably creeping up towards possibly even hitting fourth by the end of it. It is an adventure that is designed to bring a party of strangers together and forge them into a group of like-minded heroes going off and continuing their quest in the world. But it is also there, most importantly, to introduce the players to kind of the central story and mysteries of Eventide. That's kind of a big part of this adventure, and it's in fact why the adventure is frankly pretty long and pretty deep and richly detailed. For an adventure to take characters from first level to second level, 32 pages is a lot of text for that. Most of the larger adventure paths are, around 100 pages, but they cover 3 or 4 levels of play. This is 32 pages just for the first level alone. But there is a lot of exciting play in there. I want to give you a sense of what this adventure as a whole is going to contain, in that you can expect to find it filled with dungeon crawls. There's some urban adventuring. There's going to be plenty of wilderness exploration. There's certainly a lot of puzzle solving. Anybody who's ever played in any of my adventures knows that I love a good puzzle. But most importantly, it's foundational. It's there to build kind of a base for the group to continue their adventures further. It's not meant to be the start necessarily of a gigantic plotline, although there are some seeds and some hooks that may lead in those directions. But it is meant to be kind of foundational, to tell the story of this is how we came together. This is how we ended up forging our group and forging our way forward into this world of evil. Now, as I said, and I want to get into kind of the base setup of this story, and again, none of what I'm about to say is spoilers, or if it is, it's for like the first 5 minutes of the adventure. You know, where you're basically getting the introductory box text. So, this adventure is set in the town of Wormbone. And Wormbone has gone by many names over the years. Back in the time of elves, it was called Ilsanvenir. Ilsanvenir was an elven retreat. The elven nobles and lords from the south would come up here in the summers because it was cool up in the Icescar Valley, and they would basically summer up here in the north. But over the years, the population kind of grew and then stabilized, but all of that changed when Eventide happened. When Eventide occurred, 3 months of bitter cold and darkness. Already, it occurred late in the year. You know, it already exacerbated a pretty bad situation, and a blizzard set in, and Ilsanvenir was ravaged by the cold and dark. And by the time it was all said and done, the settlement was, you know, icebound, and many people had died from cold and hunger. And frankly, the city never really recovered. Within another couple hundred years, it was entirely abandoned by the elves and left to slowly be reclaimed by the Gemwood Forest. I believe I've got my map is still in here, so I'm going to play this video. This video kind of shows the map of Alnir and zooms in, making its way to the Icescar Valley and the city of Wormbone. So let's take a peek at that. And that's a bit of an older map. That's still a work in progress, as you can see, but it does show the zoom in to the Icescar Valley itself, where you can get a good look at the town of Wormbone. So Ilsanvenir went its way, and in the years since, it was resettled by humans and goblins, who kind of carved it back out of the Gemwood and formed a city at that time that they called Elf End. Elf End because it was the furthest northern elven settlement they could find. It was the end of the reach of the elven collectives. And as the elves kind of faded from the world, they're still around, but there's far fewer of them than there once was. The elven birth rate crashed after Eventide. The town of Elf End flourished, homed by mostly goblins and humans and orcs and a few elves and a few dwarves. You know, the town grew to a pretty sizable population. All of that changed in the year 807. For reference, the current year in the world is 1122. Eventide happened in 276. So this is 600 years after Eventide. The town of Elf End had a visitor, and it was a dragon. But before the dragon came, the town was, you know, relatively well-to-do. It had grown quite a bit and was now a valuable trading outpost, again, for merchants making their way east and west across the northern reach of the continent. One such eccentric individual that came to the town and settled up there was a wizard by the name of Wolfren. And Wolfren wandered around town before finding a suitable building, walked in, dumped a whole bunch of gold on the counter, and bought the building right on the spot. Within the next week, the wizard Wolfren had the building torn down and had a tower erected in its place. And that tower stood until that fateful day in 807 when a dragon came to town. This dragon swooped around the town of Elf End, lighting a large district on fire, burning down a large swath of homes, before finally settling atop Wolfren's tower, where it promptly began to attempt to tear the tower apart with its bare claws, ripping out stones and tossing them through town. Before the town guard could even respond, before the militia could even arrive, the dragon let out a mournful wail and then just laid down and died, draped atop the tower. In the coming days, its flesh rotted away, and all that remained was a petrified skeleton. And this skeleton lay draped over that tower for the next 300 years, petrified, impossible to move. They found that they couldn't chisel it, they couldn't move it away. Any tool they took to it just broke. And as a result, the doorway to Wolfren's tower, which opened out, has remained sealed this entire time. They could not remove it, nor did they want to risk damaging the already fragile tower. So instead, they just kind of cordoned it off and left it. And over the years, the town of Elfen slowly began to be known as Wormbone, the town that has a dragon skeleton you can go visit. And it has remained that way from 807 all the way up to 1122 PD, which is the current year in the campaign. In 1122, one bright morning in the later part of the years, a few weeks before the upcoming Eventide Memorial celebration that happens every year, a few weeks before that celebration, the wing bones on one side of the dragon suddenly collapsed. Over the years, parts of the dragon have kind of given away and just fallen off, and oftentimes much to the delight of spectators who manage to grab a shard or a piece of dragon bone to take home with them. But this time, a massive piece collapsed all at once. And when it did so, the doorway leading into Wolfren's tower was finally open. And that is the starting moment of this adventure, of Wolfren's fate, because the town council of Wormbone immediately calls for kind of an emergency meeting and decides that the thing that they should do is explore the tower. It's been in town for 300 years. Of Wolfren, there's been no sign. He's assumed to have perished in the dragon attack, that when the tower collapsed, the wizard was most likely killed. But having a wizard's tower open in the middle of town is, well, frankly, a dangerous thing that the town council doesn't want to leave for just anyone to go explore. So at the start of this adventure, at the very beginning, the town council calls for brave adventurers to go inside and take a look around. And that kind of is how the start of this adventure happens. The players are those adventurers, and they get to sign up, and all those who don't have a group affiliated with them are kind of grouped together and forced to work together, tasked to work together for their own safety. The town council doesn't want anybody just sneaking in there by themselves because they're worried that there might be dangerous traps or creatures or guardians, and they want folks to be safe. So a bunch of groups of adventurers get sent inside, and the player characters are kind of the mixed group of strangers who are tasked with going in there and finding out what there is to find about Wolfren's fate. So that is kind of the start of the adventure. I want to show off a couple pieces of art. These are a little spoilery just because they are pieces of art of interesting characters in the thing. So obviously we have the cover and pretty happy with how this is turning out. And this depicts a fight from at some point during the adventure. That is certainly a lot of fun. The interiors are coming together nicely as well. I want to say that I have been working diligently to create a fun layout. This is a sample of the layout of an internal page. Now, this is the unique creature in this adventure, so if you're planning to be a player, you might want to close your eyes for 30 seconds while I show this off. But this is how the interior layout of this adventure is coming together. The page treatment there is looking pretty nice. I'm liking how all the text and everything is flowing, and there you can see the new creature that is in this adventure, and it is a real bastard. Both of my groups had a real hard time dealing with that monster, and I can't wait to hear stories about how your adventurers have real troubles dealing with that monster. But there's a lot more to be seen in this adventure. There's plenty of new stuff to explore. There's plenty of great art. Frost has been doing really some great work creating pieces for this adventure. This isn't actually the final. I just realized I didn't swap this out with the final. I have the final of this tapestry piece. There's a lot more texturing and background information there. But that's really cool. There is, of course, there's going to be interesting NPCs to deal with, including good old Lieutenant Havanok here, who works with all of you to explore the tower and is kind of your liaison to the Blue Banners in your agreement to explore the tower. And inside the tower, you might even run into this unfriendly fellow who is interested in making sure that the tower stays nice and well kept and well cleaned, and doesn't like your adventurers going around and mucking up the place. There's lots more going on in here. I do want to show off this kind of spread of some interior stuff. I think the layout on the pages on this spread is old, but it'll give you a sense of some of the maps that are included in this. And I do want to stress that these maps will be delivered both in the adventure as fun references. You'll get them as tagged and untagged, and you will get them at a resolution to use on whatever virtual tabletop you want. I haven't quite struck up a deal yet with Roll20 or Foundry for this adventure, but it is something I'm exploring here in the near future as more parts of Wolfren's Fate come out. Until I have all 4 parts, I'm not sure it's worth kind of investing too much time in that, but I'll let you folks decide that. If you think that's really important, I'll be interested in hearing it from you. But there is a lot of stuff in here. The page layout here is old and not reflective of what the final is. This is the playtest layouts that you can get access to right now, actually. All of the playtest files for this adventure are actually already available. All you have to do is support the project at the $5 level or higher over at Patreon. You get charged $5 a month, and you get all my insights into this campaign. You get all of my playtest documents. You get access to the new class, the new ancestry, a bunch of new rules. It's all there. All you have to do is become a $5 or $10 patron level. I actually still have a few 25 level spots open. $25 a month gets you some writing from me, bespoke writing for your campaign. So there's some great stuff out there. You can find the links. They've been scrolling through the chat here. I'll make sure to include them in the description of this video when this video goes on YouTube. So that is basically what I got to show here. Let me make sure that's all of the pieces I wanted to show off. It is. So yeah, Wolfren's Fate is coming soon. I hope to release this adventure to both my patrons and to folks on sites like DriveThruRPG, and I also am getting a store set up over on itch.io because I know some folks prefer that site. So it will be available on both of those sources when it goes live here, I'm hoping by the end of this month. If you want to learn more about it, you can always follow me on the various social media platforms. I'm on almost all of them at /Jason Bulmahn. That's JASON_BULMAN. Again, I'll put some. So that's about all I got here talking about Wolfren's Fate. I sure do hope you pick up this adventure when it comes out and check out Eventide. You know, this has been a passion project for me, as I said, for many years now, and I'm just excited to be able to share it with all of, because it's a fun world, and I want other folks to get a chance to play in it. Folks, I'm going to keep it nice and short here today, because I don't want to go into spoilers on the adventure. I'll let the adventure speak for itself as it starts coming out, but please make sure to check it out, and thank you. Thank you. And I do want to take a moment to thank all my patrons. Without them, none of this would be possible. As it turns out, art and layout and all that stuff is really quite expensive. And, you know, getting some folks who support this project helps me make this happen. So if you want to help make this happen, go check me out on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Jason Bulmahn. There again as well. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time.